Chosen one, they thought silence meant weakness. They thought your quietness was retreat. They had no idea it was strategy. The stillness that surrounds you now isn't emptiness, it's divine calculation. What they can't understand, they can't control. What they can't predict, they can't destroy. You've become unreadable, unpredictable, unshakable. Your quietness isn't submission, it's the sound of alignment. It's the vibration of power forming in unseen places. You're not hiding, you're observing, you're not avoiding, you're ascending. And while they whisper, plot, and assume, heaven is working in your favor in ways that silence amplifies. Before we go deeper into this, stay here till the end. You were led to this message for a reason. Energy doesn't make mistakes. While you watch, let this truth move through you. Your quietness is your shield. Your peace is your weapon, and if this message finds your spirit resonating, write your warmest wishes and 777 in the comments. Let that number carry your energy into the universe. This is a moment of manifestation. This is where intentions shift realities. You are not asking, you are declaring that heaven is already moving on your behalf. Now listen carefully. Every chosen one reaches a season where silence becomes the most dangerous form of strength. The version of you that once reacted to every rumor, defended every false word, explained every move, no longer exists. You've grown past the need for recognition. Your silence confuses those who expected you to fight back, but that's the point. You've stopped playing their game. You no longer operate on their frequency. You've entered the realm where energy speaks louder than words, where peace is louder than confrontation. They wanted a reaction from you because your reaction once fed their power. They studied your habits, your triggers, your emotions, hoping to find a weakness. But what they didn't expect was your evolution. The moment you stopped explaining yourself, you stripped them of control. Every word you don't say is dismantling their illusion. Every moment you choose calm over chaos is revealing who's really in command. Your silence isn't empty, it's charged. It carries spiritual voltage that dismantles deceit without effort. This is the part they never understood. Your quietness isn't passive, it's prophetic. While they're talking, you're transforming. While they're gossiping, you're growing. You've learned that energy wasted on explaining yourself is energy stolen from your purpose. You've realized that the ones who need to misunderstand you will never hear truth, no matter how clearly you speak it, so you stopped talking and started building. You let results speak the language they can't ignore. That's what destroys their plans, not vengeance, not noise, but progress. Your quietness is uncomfortable to them because it exposes their own noise. It mirrors their insecurity. They wanted your chaos to justify theirs, but your peace disarms them. Every time you stay calm when they expect a storm, you force them to face their own emptiness. They thought they could read you, they thought they knew what you'd do next, but heaven made you invisible in plain sight. You've become unpredictable to those who used to know your patterns. That's divine protection, God's way of making sure the enemy can't track what's moving. You've entered the stage where being misunderstood is your advantage. You don't correct lies anymore because the truth is correcting them in silence. You don't chase validation because alignment validates itself. People's opinions can't touch you when your peace is your identity. Every whisper against you is hitting a wall of light. Every plot formed in darkness collapses before it even begins. They don't know how to handle someone who fights with stillness, someone who wins without war. And this is the mystery. They see you quiet, but they don't see the fire that's forming beneath that calm. They don't hear the strategy building in your spirit. They can't feel the angels rearranging circumstances behind closed doors. They mistake silence for defeat, not realizing it's the sound of destiny shifting. They don't know that your peace is not ignorance, it's awareness. You've seen too much, learned too much, grown too much to waste your breath proving anything. Your quietness is the most sacred sound in the universe right now. It's what heaven listens for. It's what signals that you trust the process. Every time you choose not to react, the divine responds on your behalf. The spiritual realm moves when you stay still. That's why doors open without effort. That's why battles end without argument. Your silence is an altar. Your restraint is a prayer. And your peace is proof that you've learnt who you are and who you no longer need to be. They can't reach you because they no longer vibrate where you live. Their plans can't touch you because their intentions can't find you. You've risen above the noise, and now every attempt to disturb you collapses under its own weight. What used to shake you now strengthens you. What used to confuse you now clarifies everything. You've become too grounded in truth to be uprooted by lies. Chosen one, this is not weakness. This is warfare. This is heaven teaching you to win differently. Not through reaction, but through revelation. Not through proving, but through peace. You've learned that silence speaks the loudest when your life becomes the message. And now your calm has become contagious. Your energy is dismantling chaos without words. You're living proof that divine restraint is the highest form of authority. They wanted you to break character, but instead you built character. They wanted you to shout, but instead you soared. They wanted to read your next move, but your stillness made you unreadable. And that's why their plans are failing, because they depend on your reaction, and you've taken that power away. Every time you choose quietness, you expose noise for what it is, weakness. Every time you choose peace, you prove that destiny doesn't need defense. Your silence is not absence, it's ascension. And they can feel it, even if they can't name it. You're becoming unreachable, untouchable, unstoppable. Heaven has hidden you in plain sight, not to protect your image, but to preserve your mission. The less you speak, the more they wonder. The less you reveal, the more they unravel. You've become a mystery wrapped in peace, and nothing disrupts a dark plan faster than light that refuses to shout. You've started to notice the shift, haven't you? The people who once spoke boldly about you have gone quiet. The ones who used to know your every move now watch from a distance, unsure, uneasy, unsettled. That's what divine silence does. It dismantles noise without confrontation. It turns observation into confusion. When you stopped reacting, you took away their access. They can't read your emotions anymore. They can't predict your steps. The power they once had over your peace dissolved the moment you decided not to explain yourself again. You've become an enigma to those who once felt entitled to your energy. They used to feed off your words, your vulnerability, your transparency. But you've learned something they didn't expect. You don't owe anyone access to your emotions. You don't need to correct every lie or prove every truth. Your quietness has built a fortress around your spirit, and only those meant to understand you can feel what's really happening. The rest can only guess, and that guessing is destroying their confidence. They can't fight what they can't find. They can't counter what they can't comprehend. You've stopped sending signals, stopped leaving breadcrumbs, stopped broadcasting every move, and now the very ones who plotted against you are panicking in the dark. They assumed your silence meant isolation, but it was insulation. You were being preserved, not forgotten. Heaven took you off the radar to rebuild you without interference. When you disappeared, they thought you were finished. But what they didn't know is that silence is where heaven speaks the loudest. You were being taught in secret, refined in solitude, equipped for your next season. Every quiet night, every tear, every unanswered call. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. While they were busy talking, heaven was busy transforming you. That's why your quietness now carries power. It's not empty space. It's evidence of evolution. And here's what they'll never admit: your silence scares them. They don't know what you know. They don't know what you're planning. They don't know what you've healed from. That mystery creates fear because people who operate in chaos can't handle peace. They don't know how to fight stillness. It reflects everything they haven't mastered within themselves. Your peace is their exposure. Every time you remain calm, you remind them of what control really looks like. Every time you stay silent, their noise starts to echo back on them. You've also begun to see how heaven flips the script without your effort. The same ones who whispered about you now whisper your name with regret. The same ones who closed doors in your face are watching those same doors open for you effortlessly. You didn't have to retaliate. You didn't have to prove anything. The silence did the work for you. Because heaven fights in frequencies that don't require volume. They're learning that your distance wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. You stopped trying to convince people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You realized that every time you argued for your peace, you were giving away pieces of it. So you withdrew, you protected your spirit, and you began building in silence. And while they were watching for your downfall, you were constructing your comeback. Not with noise, but with focus. Not with pride, but with purpose. Now they see glimpses of what you're becoming, and it terrifies them. They thought they could predict your next move, but they can't even track your energy anymore. You've changed frequencies completely. You no longer vibrate on the level where they exist. That's why their plans are crumbling. They were designed for the old you, the reactive you, the outspoken you. But that version no longer exists. The new you doesn't respond the same way, doesn't engage the same energy, doesn't feed the same patterns. You've become too grounded in peace for their chaos to function. And this is where your quietness becomes your most powerful weapon. You don't chase revenge because you've seen what karma does in silence. You don't need to expose anyone because exposure happens naturally when light stands still. You've learned that the truth doesn't need a defense. It only needs time. So you wait, you watch, and you let heaven do the heavy lifting. And it does every time. Your stillness is destroying systems built to drain you. Your restraint is confusing the spirits that tried to control you. They can't trap what they can't track. And while they keep wondering when you'll break, you've already broken free. That's the secret. Silence was never surrender. It was escape, because you walked right out of their traps without noise, without announcement, without attention. Now all that's left is your peace, and that peace is echoing louder than their plans ever could. You've entered the era of quiet authority. You don't have to roar to be heard. You don't have to prove to be powerful. Everything about you speaks through presence. You've become the calm they can't shake, the silence they can't stand, the lesson they didn't expect to learn. Heaven is using your quietness to rewrite the narrative entirely. What they meant for confusion, heaven is turning into clarity. What they meant for control, heaven is turning into calling. Your stillness has become the earthquake they never saw coming. You start to feel the energy shifting in visible ways now. What used to move against you begins to move for you. The same obstacles that once felt immovable start to part like water before you. This is what happens when your silence matures into spiritual authority. Heaven begins to act on your behalf openly. Those who once doubted your resilience are now watching your quietness turn into momentum. You're no longer defending yourself because you don't need to. The results are defending you. Doors that refuse to open before now respond effortlessly to your presence. People who once overlooked you now seek your energy, drawn by something they can't quite define. That's what happens when you stop fighting battles that aren't yours. Heaven starts fighting them in ways that the world can't ignore. The same calm that made them underestimate you is the calm that now makes them question everything they believed about you. What they didn't understand is that your silence wasn't an absence, it was an incubation. You were cocooned in purpose, being reshaped for power that doesn't need applause. Every day you spent in solitude was a day heaven built your foundation, and now what was once hidden begins to show. The plans made against you start to fall apart, not with explosions, but with erosion. Slowly, silently, beautifully. Conversations that used to revolve around you turn to confusion. Alliances that formed against you begin to fracture. The same mouths that once spoke your name in negativity can't seem to find the right words anymore. That's divine reversal. The more you stay quiet, the more their intentions unravel. It's not that you're doing nothing, it's that heaven is doing everything. The whispers of envy, the subtle manipulation, the fake concern, it all begins to collapse under the weight of truth. What they thought would harm you is now positioning you. What they thought would delay you is actually accelerating you. Your name is being mentioned in places you've never entered, but this time in light, not shadow. The quietness that once made you feel invisible has become your invisibility cloak. You move unseen, but felt, unheard, but known. Heaven has made you a mystery on purpose. You are protected by unpredictability, by the sacred rhythm of stillness. Every time they think they've figured you out, the script flips again. It's not luck, it's divine strategy. Heaven hides its strongest soldiers in silence so that when they emerge, there's no counterplan strong enough to stop them. And while they grow restless trying to anticipate your next move, you're not even thinking about them. Your focus is on peace, your energy on purpose, your mind on creation. That's what truly destroys their plans, your detachment. You no longer feed them energy, attention, or fear. They tried to keep you in cycles of reaction, but you've escaped through stillness. You've become unreachable because you've mastered restraint. It's fascinating how everything begins to align when you refuse to chase it. You've noticed it too. The right opportunities showing up at the right time, divine connections appearing out of nowhere, a quiet flow replacing years of resistance. It's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Heaven rewards restraint with revelation. Every time you chose silence over anger, you were planting seeds of elevation. Now those seeds are blooming. People are starting to see you differently, not because you've changed your words, but because you've changed your energy. You're no longer speaking from wounds, you're speaking from wisdom. You don't chase understanding anymore because peace is enough. You've stopped explaining your worth because you finally realized it was never up for debate. That's what true transformation looks like. It's internal, not performative. And the beauty of it all, you're not even trying to be seen. Yet heaven keeps placing you in visibility, not for validation, but for purpose. You've become living proof that silence is not the absence of power, it's the presence of mastery. You're showing the world that the most dangerous person is the one who doesn't need to prove a thing. You're no longer in competition with anyone. You've outgrown comparison. You've outgrown reaction. You've outgrown chaos. What's meant for you doesn't require manipulation. It meets you in alignment. And now that you've learned that, nothing and no one can move against you. Your peace has become your protection, and your quietness has become your weapon. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them assume. You've learned that nothing they say can stop what heaven is doing. You've reached the point where divine order overrides human opinion. You don't fight for position. You wait for purpose. And that's why everything they built to contain you is now collapsing around them. Your silence has become their undoing, your peace, their confusion, your presence, their reminder that no plan can stand against divine alignment. You are proof that quietness isn't weakness, it's warfare refined by grace and sealed by heaven. You can sense the shift growing stronger now. It's no longer subtle, it's undeniable. Your silence has created an energy that moves faster than words ever could. Things are aligning on their own, almost as if the universe has decided to repay you for every moment you chose peace over chaos. You've become magnetic. People who once doubted you can't understand why everything seems to fall into place for you now. They don't realize that it's because your silence allowed heaven to speak louder than your voice ever could. Every chosen one reaches this moment, the one where staying quiet turns into divine acceleration. The very things that once seemed out of reach start chasing you. The tables are turning quietly, methodically, in ways that can't be traced back to you. The plans that were built to block you are collapsing with precision, and no one can explain why. They thought your quietness was submission, but now they're watching it become elevation. They don't understand that every time they whispered your name, heaven used it as fuel for your favor. You've started noticing how timing feels different lately. You're no longer anxious about what's next. You've learned that divine movement doesn't need to announce itself. It just happens. And when it does, it feels like grace disguised as coincidence. The call you've been waiting for comes without effort. The opportunity that once seemed impossible arrives like it never left. You don't chase these things anymore. They appear naturally because your frequency has changed. You've become aligned with what's meant for you, and alignment always attracts abundance. Your silence has done what words couldn't. It built a boundary that protected your peace long enough for destiny to unfold. The ones who once tried to provoke you now have nothing to grab onto. You no longer react, and that confuses them. They can't play a game you're no longer participating in. That's what makes your quietness so powerful. It's not passive, it's intentional. It's your way of saying, I know who I am and I know what's mine. And heaven loves that kind of confidence, the kind that doesn't need an audience. Every time you stayed silent when you could have spoken, you passed a test. Every time you walked away when you could have fought, you rose in rank. Spiritual promotion doesn't come from noise, it comes from restraint. And now you're being rewarded for that discipline. Heaven trusts you with more because you've proven you won't waste it explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand. What's unfolding now feels like justice, but softer, clean, peaceful, undeniable. The same people who once spread confusion about you now find themselves exposed by their own words. You didn't have to return the energy. Truth handled that for you. They see you thriving, glowing, rising, and it disturbs the ones who thrived on your struggle. That's what divine protection looks like. Not revenge, but reversal. Not confrontation, but correction. And while they try to make sense of your peace, you're too busy living it. You wake up lighter now. You walk slower, but with certainty. You smile at things that used to frustrate you because you see how small they really were. You've stopped fighting the wind. You've learned to let it carry you. That's divine flow. When you no longer resist what's meant to move you forward. Every quiet step you take is creating waves in unseen places. Your peace is shifting rooms. Your silence is rearranging energy. People can feel your presence before they hear your voice. That's not coincidence, that's alignment manifesting in real time. Heaven uses your stillness to broadcast strength. You don't need to announce what's coming next, your energy already has. And as you walk through this season, you'll notice that everything begins to come full circle. The things that once confused you now make perfect sense. The people who once drained you no longer have access. The spaces that once felt heavy now feel too small for you. That's how growth feels. Uncomfortable but necessary. You've outgrown explanations and you've outgrown chaos. They wanted you to react so they could point and say, see, they're not who they claim to be, but you stayed quiet. You let your peace speak for you. And now that very quietness has become evidence that you've evolved beyond their reach. You don't need to fight for your reputation. Your peace has already cleared your name in heaven. And soon that truth will echo in every direction. You've stepped into a season where your silence creates motion. What you build in peace will echo louder than anything said against you. You don't need to look back. The same energy that protected you in hiding is now propelling you into visibility. The time for defense is over. The time for elevation has begun. And the same quietness that dismantled their plans will now be the sound of your breakthrough. You've entered the stage where silence no longer feels like strategy. It feels like home. You've learnt that true power doesn't need to announce itself. You've mastered what most people never will. the ability to stay centered when everything around you tries to pull you out of peace. Your quietness is no longer defense, it's design. You've become so aligned with divine timing that even your pauses have purpose. Now, everything moves differently for you. The same people who once tested your patience now respect your distance. The same energy that once drained you now fuels your focus. You've realized that when you stop reacting, you start creating. Every moment of stillness is producing something powerful in the unseen. You're not inactive, you're intentional. You're not retreating, you're recharging. They don't understand how you keep advancing without making noise, but that's the secret. They were too busy talking to notice you building. While they were trying to expose you, you were being expanded. While they were focused on your silence, heaven was focused on your next step. And now you're walking into rooms prepared for you long before you were ready to enter them. Your quietness has cleared the path. Your peace has paved it, and your faith is guiding every step forward. You've become the calm in the storm, the proof that stillness is not weakness, but evolution. You're not waiting for validation anymore. You've learned that the moment you stopped explaining yourself was the moment your purpose began explaining itself for you. This is what divine maturity feels like. Not loud victories, not dramatic comebacks, just silent progression that speaks for itself. You are rising, chosen one, and the world can feel it. You stand at the edge of everything you've been preparing for, and it feels different this time, calmer, quieter, more certain. There's no rush in your spirit, no fear in your chest. You've learned that what's meant for you doesn't arrive with noise, it arrives with knowing. This peace you carry now is the proof that every silent battle was worth it. You didn't need to win through argument or attention, you won by endurance. You let time and truth handle what your words never could. And now, the results are undeniable. The people who once watched and waited for you to fall can't make sense of your rise. They see you thriving, yet they can't trace how it happened. That's what divine protection looks like. It conceals the process, but reveals the outcome. Heaven covered your construction phase so that no one could interfere. Every moment of quiet was a layer of armor, and now you move like someone fully equipped for the life you prayed for. You no longer react to negativity because you see it for what it is, proof that your presence has power. Your calm unsettles those who thrive in confusion. Your silence exposes everything that words once failed to. You've realized that energy doesn't lie. It reveals intention faster than speech ever could. That's why your stillness has become your strategy. You don't need to confront anyone. You don't need to defend yourself. You've already been vindicated in ways that words could never accomplish. The truth is, you were never meant to fight in the open. Your victory was always meant to unfold in the unseen. Heaven didn't just protect you, it preserved your name, your vision, your path. What was meant to break you became your blueprint. What was meant to silence you became your strength. And now your peace is so complete that even chaos feels powerless in your presence. You've become a reminder that no plan formed against a peaceful soul can succeed. Your quietness has finished what noise could never do. It has restored balance, revealed truth, and cleared your path of everything not aligned with destiny. You've learned that silence isn't emptiness, it's mastery. It's the highest form of confidence where you no longer seek validation because you know who you are, you know what you carry, you know where you're going. So stand tall in this peace, walk lightly but with purpose. Let your quietness continue to speak for you in rooms your voice hasn't yet reached. You don't need to announce your arrival, your energy already has. The plans formed against you have failed quietly, just as you lived quietly. And now heaven smiles, not because you fought back, but because you learned how to stay still and let destiny move through you. This is your reward, the calm after the battle, the wisdom after the waiting, the rise that needed no sound.